Hi, and welcome to what I hope will be the first in a series of videos about my journey into solar power. I've been thinking about getting solar panels for quite a long time. Now I'm finally in a position to do it, so I started looking around on the internet to try and find some information, and looked on YouTube to sort of see if I could see anybody who'd had a sort of a similar type of system to me, and I couldn't find any real videos from people in the UK. There's quite a few from the States, but there weren't that many from people in the UK, if any. So I thought I would make a video or a series of videos about my experience and put it on YouTube, and then anyone else who's considering getting solar panels in the future, they might come across my video and find it useful. Maybe you'll find answers to some of the questions that I'll end up finding the answers to, and you might find my my experience useful. So I've like I say, I've been thinking about getting solar panels now for quite some time. I haven't ruled out the idea of even getting a wind turbine at some point, but that's a whole different kettle of fish. So initially, I'm just gonna sort of go down the solar panel route. My reasons are mostly, I guess, I like the idea of being self-sufficient. I like the idea of sort of being able to sort of live off my own generated electricity. Obviously, I'm pretty interested in the environment, and I think anything that I can do to reduce my impact on the planet is only going to benefit the next generation. And I do quite like the idea of sort of sticking it to the man. If I could get off grid entirely, then that would be brilliant. But that's not going to happen. Although I never say never. We don't have a huge electricity usage, so who knows what will be possible. But initially, that's pie in the sky talk. But and obviously, if I get it installed at a reasonable price, then it will make some money due to the feed-in tariffs that you get from the government, guaranteed for sort of 20 years. So as long as you get the system at the right price, you're guaranteed to sort of make some profit on it. So we moved to this house a few years ago, and although I didn't sort of buy the house with this in mind, since I've been thinking about solar panels and investigating it, we've found out that actually we've got an almost ideal property for putting solar panels on. Our roof is very long. It's also perfectly south facing. We're on the top of a hill, so we're not overshadowed by any other houses at any point during the day, because we're higher than they are, and we're also not overshadowed by any trees, so there's pretty much no shade at all on the roof at all during the day. Maybe a little bit during the winter months when the sun's much lower in the sky, but just barely, if at all. And our roof angle is about 23 degrees, which is just below optimum. I think 30 degrees is considered an optimum angle, sort of to give you the best of winter and summer. Whereas because ours is slightly lower, we'll probably generate more in the summer than we would normally have. But in the winter, when the sun's at a much shallower angle, it'll be hitting our panels at a very steep angle. So we won't generate as much as we potentially could have. So based on the size of the roof that we've got, we've got a couple of options. We could either go for cheap panels that don't have a high wattage each, but use up the whole of the roof space and come up with a system that's sort of perfectly adequate size for a very cheap cost. Or we could go for very high efficiency panels and cover the roof with those, and have a very, very large system, and then sort of make as much possible back from the utility companies, from what we feed back to the grid, particularly in the summer. Now I'm kind of leaning towards the sort of get as much as I can on the roof and make as much as I can from it, so that it gives me options for maybe using the excess to potentially sort of heat the hot water rather than using gas and save some money there, and potentially get an electric vehicle or a plug-in hybrid vehicle at some point and maybe pump some of the excess energy into that and have sort of reduced cost for motoring, but to go for a larger system has problems in terms of getting authorization from the electricity company, because they have to make sure that the infrastructure that they have in place locally is sufficient, to handle the sort of load that you're going to pump back into the grid. So I think if you go for a system over 4 kilowatts, you pretty much have to get their approval, and you have to make an application, and it's quite a lengthy process, I think. So that's kind of one downside to it. Whereas if you just go for a sort of 4 kilowatt system, you can just get it installed, and it doesn't have to be sort of approved by them, because it's sort of small enough that they don't need to worry. At least that's how I understand it. So yeah, at the moment I'm just kind of tinkering around with some ideas. I've had a couple of companies out to sort of measure up and sort of go away and come up with their ideas of what would be the best system for us. I gave them my sort of annual electricity figures, and they're going to use that to sort of work out what could be best. So I'm just waiting to sort of get those results back at the moment, and we'll see what they come up with. The only other thing I've been considering is whether or not to go for some kind of sort of battery storage solution. There's a few companies on the market now that are sort of offering kind of hybrid inverters, where it will take some of the excess electricity, and rather than feed it all back to the grid, it will use it to charge up some batteries, and then once they're fully charged, it'll then export to the grid. And then once you get to the evening and the sun goes down and you're not generating anymore, you can then use the power from the stored batteries and thus avoid drawing any energy back from the grid. The batteries at the moment, though, are very expensive, so it's touch and go whether that would ever be cost effective, because they only have a lifespan of about 10 years. And if you're not a very sort of high usage, which we're not really, they're probably not going to pay for themselves in the 10 years that they're going to last before they have to be replaced. So I'm still looking into that. Interestingly, the Tesla just recently came up with a press conference, I think it was last week, about a new battery system that they're going to offer to home users, and theirs was really cheap compared with what's available at the moment. I mean, it's supposed to come out later this summer, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be in America only at first, but their sort of 10 kilowatt hour storage, which is way more than we would need, came out, I think, at only about £2,500, which is really cheap. If I could get sort of 7.5 kilowatt hour storage system for that kind of money, 2,500, then great. Where do I sign? But at the moment it's going to cost a lot more than that, so it's something I need to look into a bit more. So yeah, anyway, I hope to make several videos, hopefully charting the actual installation of my system once I've decided what I'm going to get, and then sort of some follow-up videos with facts and figures about how much it costs, how much I'm saving, if I get a battery solution, how long does that power last me that I've got stored in the batteries, and all that sort of stuff. All the sort of, I mean, that's the sort of stuff that I think would be really quite interesting to sort of follow up on. So my plan is to sort of make several videos over the coming months to kind of chart all the things that are going to come into it, and it maybe people will find that interesting and or helpful in helping them to decide whether or not it's a good idea for them to maybe have solar panels too. So yeah, that's my initial thoughts. I'll probably make another video soon when I get some information back from the various companies about the prices they're quoting, and any other things, questions that have cropped up at that time. But for this video, I'll leave it there. So see you next time.